This episode of Building Ryloth will be working on the capital, focusing on various aspects of it, be adding texture to the main tower, and even lighting up more of the build. So let's get into this episode of Building Ryloth. So I want to begin by giving texture to the panels around the control room. So for example, I wanted to take something that looks like this and turn it into something that looks a bit more like this. So if you don't remember, I'm going to be using a palette for the texturing in this mock. So I wanted to make use of some of these 1x1 round tiles and these 1x2 round plates to add some kind of rounded brick texturing. And then I wanted to make use of some of these ingots as well as these 1x2 masonry bricks, which have two different sides. So you can see here how I'm using one side and then the other side over here. And then finally, I'm making use of these headlight bricks, which have these anti-studs on the back. And you can kind of see how it's attached here in this example. And on the other side, you have the stud showing for extra texturing. I don't want to use too many pieces that it becomes messy, but I also don't want to use too few pieces that it's not detailed enough. Here's what the palette looks like in action with these three main panels. I then went ahead and textured these panels at least 2/3 of these panels on this kind of area right here, and you'll see me attaching them here. I went ahead and textured the ones I already had, and then I created new ones for the ones that I hadn't built already. And you may be able to notice that on the actual capital there are these windows in the Bad Batch episode. You can actually see them kind of lit up, so I wanted to capture that with the lights of my own. So you can see I'm making use of some arches around there and then a tile stuck in between them. And I just have the wires running into the back. By making use of a translucent yellow tile to get a kind of yellow light, which kind of looks accurate to how it looks in the Bad Batch. So all of these wires are just running into this expansion port, which is running into the battery pack. So all these lit up. Looks something like this. Yeah, I'm quite a big fan of how that's looking. I think I'm gonna extend the building up a little taller to about probably right here. And then I need to experiment with exactly, how the top is going to kind of be finished off. I can't quite finish off this side yet. I did run out of my masonry bricks, but until then, I started experimenting with exactly, how this is going to meet with kind of the rest of the capital. So the current plan is just kind of to flatten this wall off right here and then use like some panels to kind of get some clean transitions between kind of the angled portions. You can see some techniques I was experimenting with here, pretending this wall is going to be the flat wall right here, and kind of get like an angled portion of the wall that kind of lines up nicely with this area and kind of acts as a nice transition into the rest of the capital. So I'm just kind of changing up the distance between each of these panels by half a plate each time, just kind of creating this step using brackets. So when it lines up with the wall, it lines up as seamless as you can probably get it to be. I mean, obviously there's going to be gaps. This is a really difficult kind of angle to get completely seamless. This is probably the best I'll be able to get. So I went ahead and started working on the doors. There's a lot of tricky shapes I have to try to capture, so I wanted to take you through exactly how I ended up creating them. I ended up going with dark gray instead of a dark blue, which is probably more accurate. Mostly because one, there's more parts available in dark gray, and also I have more parts in dark gray. So I began with this basic outline for the door. I made use of a lot of snot bricks to get some attachment points for the other parts of it. I then made two of these subsections which will attach to the outline of the door. I then began working on the inner portion of the door, trying to capture some of the markings that you see. So these two arch pieces will be in dark bluish gray in the final version. I just don't have any right now, so I'm making use of some white ones. The same goes for this curved slope, which will be in light bluish gray in the final version. And to capture the kind of curved top, I'm making use of some flex tubing, and I'll attach some subsections using clips to it. And to hide the flex tubing, I'm making use of some wedge plates and modified tiles, and they will just be attached to the rest of the door using these modified plates. But the same goes for the other side. And this little subsection just slides in right here without any connection points. And to finish it off, I'm using these clips with these subsections and then just attaching them to the flex tubing. And there you go, that is the final door design. So since I now have the design down, I went ahead and replicated the design for the second door. You can probably tell that I'm missing a lot more pieces with this one, but hopefully I'll get those pieces in sometime in the near future. I then thought it'd be a good time to kind of try to capture these weird arched columns. So I'm making use of that same technique that I talked about in the previous episode, but I'm actually just expanding on it right now. So on the sides, I'm making use of wedge plates to kind of guide the flex tube in the kind of direction that I want it to go. And on the side, I have one long flex tube with different subsections of panels that will allow it to kind of slowly increase in angle as it goes up. So I think this will serve as a good proof of concept, not necessarily the final design, because this really should be a lot taller with the final version, but that will definitely be something I do in the future once the final height of the Capitol is defined. But I've been kind of going back and forth exactly how I want this main tower to kind of merge into the rest of the Capitol walls. I've ended up adding 2 more of these Technic pillars, one on either side, and I'm doing this because I think I actually want it to be a little bit more curved, because originally I was going to have it just cut off like a 90-degree angle. I just don't think that's going to look good. Because of this, that also means the tower is going to be taller, because I need to compensate for the kind of accurate proportions. So since it's going to be wider, that also means it's going to have to be taller as well. So I have another question for you guys, and that is about memberships. So I'm getting close to being able to include memberships into the channel. And my question for you guys is, would anybody care if I included memberships? Would anybody be interested in those? If you don't know what a membership is, that is something that YouTube does. Basically, you guys can pay monthly, and I can give you some custom benefits. Now, exactly what those benefits are is another thing that I want you guys to leave in the comments. What benefits would you like to see? I can definitely do emotes. I have like 4 years of experience in graphic design, so I could definitely whip up some emotes for you. That would be nice. But also possibly releasing videos early. I don't know if I could do exclusive content just with my schedule right now. Maybe sometime down the future I could add that, but definitely as it stands right now, that's not going to be happening. But anything and everything, let me know what you think about possibly doing memberships in the comments below. I want to know your input so I can make sure that it's the best it can possibly be. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.